Chase, very close this weekend, but did not quite come away with the overall win. But I will say, second moto with you and Eli, I felt like was very impressive because once he got around you, I felt like you guys just kept upping the pace. Did you feel like it kept going up? Because I didn't think that you settled or he settled after that move.
Yeah, it was fun because Eli is notorious for being really good here, and he's good everywhere, but for some reason he really gets along with this track well. So I heard him behind me because that Yamaha was pretty loud, and I knew I was going to have a fight the whole moto. He obviously got around me, kind of opened up a little bit of a gap, but I didn't want to let him get away. I knew that every moto counts. If I let him get away, that's something that he can go to bed at night thinking that he's got me covered. So I wanted to really latch onto him and see if I could put a good charge, and it was fun. I like racing Eli. He's respectful. Yeah, just super fun to race. So it was fun out there.
So there's been a few questions thrown up about some of your bike setup choices. Most notably, you're running the Showa BFRC shock, which has been it's been around for about 10 years now. I think around 2012-13 first time I saw it. It's been really popular in the GPs. It hasn't been as popular in the US due to how it works in Supercross, but definitely works in the GPs. Why'd you switch for it for outdoors? What does it do personally well for you, and how long have you been on it?
So I really went off of last year where I didn't feel comfortable with the bike. I feel like I lacked late in the races where I wasn't comfortable, and when you're losing that little bit of energy, you got to have some sort of comfort, which I didn't have, and I think it showed. I just didn't have the results that I wanted last year, so we actually tested. I took vacation because I got COVID the last 2 races, so took vacation after, would have been probably 6 weeks after the last race. Came back, before I went to Santa Barbara for training, they came to Florida at Rat Race. We put the BFR on, tested it. Even with my normal fork that I was racing all year, I'm like, this thing's automatically better. I was, I think, a second faster, like right off the bat, and just more comfortable. So started there, and then after Salt Lake, we did some testing at Tyler's again, and made it a little bit better, which I was on Geyser shock up until that point, and now it's just a little bit away from that. So, but so close. So I think for Supercross it's a little bit inconsistent, but for outdoors, I think for me, the balance is really good, and how I settles in the corners where I like to stand. It really gives me that stability and that comfort, which I think helps me a lot.
Watching you last weekend, you and Ken's bikes have a very different attitude under braking. I noticed that was the biggest thing that stood out to me, because you guys were both sending it in deep on each other in a few sections, and your bike looked like it kept a more balanced attitude under braking. It didn't seem as pitchy.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kenny's always notoriously been where he likes the rear higher, and that's something I hate. Balance is a big thing for me, so like I said, when I'm coming in the corners, I don't want the thing to be high, because then I lose the front and I get tight in my arms. So as loose as I can be in my arms, it kind of just flow through the corners where, like I said, I like to stand up. So if I can feel planted and the bike's at one, it works well for me. And Kenny, he's the only guy that I know that can ride with the rear as tall as he likes it, but he does make it work. I watched Thunder Valley from last year, and how tall his rear was, that I would have been in 10th probably. So he likes it like that. And I think for him, coming down hills and stuff, which it doesn't really make a lot of sense, he actually is able to charge the downhills faster than I can, I think, because his rear is pretty stiff. So there's good and bads to both setups, but it's kind of cool that we have a little bit of, I guess, it's a little bit different.
So I'm
our bikes.
I'm going off the little personal experience I have with it. So typically why it hasn't been as popular in Supercross is I think the most high-speed damping control on it maybe isn't as strong as a normal shock. So with it, do you find yourself in any situations with real big GS, do you find yourself being a little bit tentative in a few spots where you know it doesn't have its strong feature, or have you guys done enough testing? Do you feel like it's actually pretty competitive in that area?
So that was one thing that was good about testing at Tyler's, where it's pretty deep and sandy and also has those big bumps. So at first I did, like with Geysers, he's a little bit soft for me. So I did end up going stiffer. And I think it helped that G out and those big loads. I think in any case, unless you're super stiff, those big G outs they are a little bit sketchy. So as long as I can get through that and kind of manage the rest of the track really well, it's usually pretty good. So you gotta be obviously tentative in those spots anyways. So I think if I can get the comfort on the rest of the track good and the balance good, it's overall really good.
So at this point, do you feel pretty settled in? Do you have much more you're chasing, or do you feel pretty ready to drive for the title?
There's some stuff that I was chasing just with the front a little bit from practice to first moto to second moto, but just clicker stuff. So if we can stick with clickers all year, I think we did a pretty good job in the off season. So As far as that, I'm pretty happy, and there's always stuff that you can do better, but I think we're in a good spot right now.